Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Sarah Warsey, and I am the Marketing Manager here at Sentia. So it's no secret that we are currently facing a global health crisis as we battle the coronavirus pandemic that has resulted in dramatic changes with the way businesses operate. Work from home procedures are having to be implemented on a moment's notice in an effort to help control the spread and keep everyone safe. So with this upsurge in working remotely, how can businesses ensure that their systems continue to run safely and securely? This is what we are going to talk about today. I apologize, there might be a bit of a lag between slide transitions, so I do apologize in advance. So the agenda for today is we will start off with Chris West, who is our VP of Sales and Marketing, and he will provide a brief overview of Sentia and our partnership with Cynet, a cybersecurity firm. And we'll then hear from Roy Barnier and Elon Baumstein of Cynet, who will talk in greater detail about some of the unique security risks that may come with the mass working from home and how to minimize those risks. And Elon will also go into a live demonstration of the remote incident response tool. We'll then close the session off with a call to action, an opportunity for some Q&A, and a wrap-up. If you do have a question at any point throughout the session, please feel free to enter it into the chat window, and we will address it at the end. So with that said, I would like to pass it over to Chris. Chris, over to you.
Thanks, Sarah. And the slides seem to be moving along quickly, so that's great. Good morning, everybody. I wanted to thank you for joining us. Some of you may know, and hopefully do know and have heard of Sentia, and others may not have. So just by way of a quick introduction to who we are, what we do, we're a global organization, so believe it or not, we're in 12 different countries. So we're 12 years old, 12 different countries, so there's some consistency there. We're located in Richmond Hill. We have roughly 27 employees, and we have many satisfied clients across all sorts of different industries. We would describe, or I would describe ourselves as a high value, high skill infrastructure solutions organization. We have average of about 17 years of experience on our team, both our professional services team as well as our managed services team. And we're very broad, and we're specialized in the areas of data protection, virtualization, network and security, as well as hybrid IT. And we have a very unique ability to both design, architect, deploy, and then also manage the solutions that we sell. So we're as much a service provider as we are a technology provider at the end of the day. And as you'll see today with the team from Cynet, we partner with many complementary high-value technology service and solution leaders. And the relationship with Cynet is one where we are a managed service security partner of Cynet's, as well as a reseller of their products and their solutions. And they are fantastic. So they have a very unique, and I won't take any of Roy's thunder or Elon's, but their solution and their approach to security and cybersecurity is very unique and very powerful. And it is one that I thought would make a lot of sense to introduce our clients and some of our prospects to. So thank you very much for joining the call, and I'm sure you'll find it educational, and I'll join you back in a few minutes for the call to action. So Roy, over to you.
Thank you, Chris and Sarah. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on coronavirus impact on the cyber threat landscape. My name is Roy. As mentioned, I'm the head of channel sales at Cynet. And in the next 40 minutes, I will share with you some of the threats data analysis that we discovered here over at Cynet. I'll review some interesting insights on what we're seeing on the cyber implications on the coronavirus crisis worldwide, and followed by an explanation of demo for a product and the platform, and explain exactly the fit between the product's functionality, the threat protection that it provides in the unusual states and new reality that we're all facing now. So talking about the coronavirus, it's hitting us hard worldwide. The entire economic is hitting by this new reality. and creates a high volume of uncertainty within organizations Cynet, as revealed new data showing that the coronavirus now has a significant impact on information security and that the crisis is actively exploited by threat actors. In light of this insight, Cynet has shared a few ways to best prepare for the coronavirus, derive threat landscape, and provide a solution to protect employees that are working now from home without their personal computers because of this coronavirus. So just covering over the quarantine impact of the work environment, we see mass transit to working from home. This is a new reality we're facing, and this requires now new approach in security-wise, and everyone is in a struggle trying to maintain business as much as we can. We see extensive use of remote connectivities for organization resource through VPN. Most of them are new VPN connectivities, not partial, since there's a lot of new computers, personal ones. Therefore, best practices and policies are not only well in place, and it needs to be established really fast. The extensive use of private computers to access work emails is a huge coverage of our presentation that we see a lot of threats over there. And there's new vectors of attack that we saw since coronavirus spread. We'll talk about it, how we saw it worldwide, starting from Italy, Spain, etc. And of course, security teams, which are you guys. Basically, we see that you're having a new challenge as well, operational wise, and that the operations are impaired due to quarantine team members. And it's not an ideal world, our regular stage that we're here on-premise, all our capabilities and all the practices in place. Sarah, can you switch the slides? So let's talk about threat actors that are taking advantage of this, and we saw it really early. On the next slide, you can see that the direct impact of the coronavirus is a wide quarantine policy that compels multiple organizations to allow their workforce to work from home in order to maintain business continuity. The inevitability entails shifting a significant portion of the workload to be carried out remotely, introducing an exploitable opportunity for attackers. This opportunity attackers see is the mass use of remote login credentials to organizations' resources that far exceeded from the normal stages on the regular days that we were before the COVID-19. As a result, remote connections are established by employees and devices that have never been done so before, never configured the same or part of the company's policy or monitored by other security standards or stacks in place, meaning that an attacker could easily conceal a malicious login without being detected by the target organization's security team. And as you can see on the left-hand side on the chart, Cynet's global threats telemetry from the recent 3 weeks revealed that Italy features a sharp spike in phishing attacks in comparison to other territories, indicating that attackers are hunting in full force for users' credentials. And on the right-hand side, you can see a chart that in addition to that, we at Cynet detect respective spike both in detecting anonymous logins to its customers' environments as well. On the next slide, we'll show how employees that work from home often would do so from their personal computers, which are significantly less secured than their organizational ones, making them more vulnerable to malware attacks. This chart shows the spike Cynet sees within the customers from Italy of email-based attack, which was the beginning of the mass attacks that we saw. And now this is highly important, and I'll talk a lot about this. We're all working through any VPN methods connecting, but those personal devices do not have a decent security offering or decent security on advanced cyber threats in place. And we'll cover that as part of our presentation as well. And as you can see, moving over to the next slide, and we'll take a closer look on the attacks, it reveals that they possess a considerable threat on organizations that don't have any advanced protection in place. And I'll go through some of the points that we see and some of the indicators here. One of the most interesting of them is the 32% of them that are weaponized document macros. Basically, so this is a massive attack that we saw, in addition to emails with linked to malicious websites. This is a very old methodology, but now that they're addressing personal devices, they have a huge success. While 21% of these emails feature simplistic attacks with a link to download a malicious executable embedded in the email body, the vast majority includes more advanced capabilities. As mentioned earlier, malicious macros and exploits or redirection to malicious websites. This challenge surprises the capabilities of most AV and email protection solutions, and you'll see the lack of them. We'll talk deeper about that because some of those engines exist in Cynet, and in the next slide, you'll see a closer look and a full understanding of how these attacks were blocked. There are verifies here that we should regard and take a closer look at them. So part of Cynet's offering is various of engines that we'll cover later in a couple of slides, but you can see that nearly 11% were blocked on a signature-based or RNG AV engines that we already have in place. And most of them even bypass those engines as well. But since Cynet is more sophisticated malware protection mechanism, you'll see that our engines on behavior analysis, memory monitoring, or machine learning static analysis had a much higher rate on catching those attacks and were addressed on them. So those was indication of a much more sophisticated attack that usually traditional phishing AV engines or email protections are easily to be bypassed by them. On the next slide, there's a very interesting chart. One of Cynet's offering and one of our capabilities is full MDR, which is called our SIOPS team. And we are basically monitoring each activity of our clients over there. And this chart shows that how the course of the recent weeks, the engagement volume with SIOPS MDR services was far exceeded than the average level. Following an active reach out, we discovered that this increase is due to difficulties security teams experience due to quarantined team members, pushing them to consume more of SIOPS expertise. And exactly looking closely, you can see on the dates over here, the significant increase of our findings over there. Moving forward to the next slide, Sarah, if you may. Great. And Cynet 360 platform, which is our core engines, enable us to monitor and control, attack, prevent, and detect, and response and orchestrate. So a little bit about how Cynet is addressing the findings that we saw is due to our sensor fusion engine. That basically, sensor fusion is a scientific term that means that the whole is greater than the sum of its part. But as you can see on the next slide, what Cynet is doing in every activity, and that is how we detect every of those advanced and malicious threats, is looking at every file activity, every process activity, every user activity, network traffic, and memory activity. And by doing so, you can see that everything of those logs are in real time correlated to the sensor fusion engine. Exactly like a SIM operates, we correlate that data in real time to understand the true context. And by doing so, we really understand the big picture of what's happening. All engines coming in place then will enable us to automatically respond and orchestrate to any specific behavior, attack, or threats with our engines that will cover in place. That will monitor and control everything, attack, prevent, and detect, and response and orchestrate. Moving forward to the next slide, we can see exactly breaking it down to reality what Cynet is doing. We created a super smart agent that can auto-deploy itself up to 5,000 hosts in 1 hour. And not only that, this agent auto-detects every new asset the client is adding to the network. There is no need to create any image or push it. Cynet auto-detects and auto-deploys to every new dynamic assets. Now in the coronavirus reality, we're adding new assets, enable new networks, connectivity from remote users. Cynet can be deployed to them as well automatically and gives them a full coverage of security as well. Sarah, if you can click a little bit. Now, basically, our engine is a little bit unique and a little bit sim and slide. that covers the main four aspects, which are the users, the files, the host, and the networks. And the main reason that we cover all four is not only giving a better detection rate and much less false positive when we are looking at those attacks that starts on the email phishings or macros or any other threats. These attacks are expanding, and through the breach of a remote user today in the reality that we're working from home, they expand to the network and can corrupt network resources and assets. And there is always a flow of an attack. Therefore, by being on all four junctions, if God forbid we see an attack moving from a file or a host on a user, we have our engines in place, catching it, detecting it, and remediating it on all four junctions. Next slide, please, Sarah. Great. So basically, Cynet agent is very unique here. It's very slim and light. It's between a 10 to 12 megabyte agent that at first is injected to the memory, and I'll talk about it on the next slide, and supports operational systems various that we can talk at the end. On the first stages of Cynet, there's 4 actions that being done on the implementation that brings true value and very fast coverage security-wise. The first would be the immediate insight. We believe security starts in visibility. Therefore, in less than an hour, we can see full networks discovery and inventory visibility. And as you can see here, there will be, and Alon will cover it in the demo, some indicators or colors of some assets that will need our attention. So very fast from implementation stage, we can already see that there is something needed and attention for us to overlook and see if there is any security threat. And we'll talk more on the demo exactly how we're doing. The second slide about our steps would be, sorry if you can move forward, would be the monitoring and control. One of the uniqueness of Cynet is an agent that being injected to the memory. And the main reason for that is not being a fast deployment only, but looking at 90% of the modern attacks today are addressing memory. And as mentioned on the slides before, we see that even though the attackers today are addressing memory, not only for corporate devices, but personal one, and having a lot of executables that they can use to penetrate the network, we can reduce the attack surface and increase IT hygiene very, very fast. Moving forward to the next slide, you'll see that the third step of every implementation of Cynet would be the monitoring and control. If by any way or any chance there is a security threat that bypass the existing posture today or even monopolize the security vulnerabilities that remote users are opening to the network, Cynet will detect it, alert it, and can remediate it. And part of what Alon will cover here in the demo, you will see that all remediations that we are now working remotely doesn't need our presence on the network's corporate. Everything can be done from the centralized management console, from changing an IP to a user, or disabling from the AD, or isolating a host, and many other, killing a process, and many other actions that can be done. Most of them can be done autonomously with us, and we'll talk about it in the next slide, or it can be manually from a centralized management that you as an operation or as a system or Sentia can remotely access and assist you. Now, the last would be response and orchestration, and this is the main uniqueness that Cynet is bringing to the market, and it's much more valuable today on the new reality that we are now facing. One of our main differentiators and huge values to our clients is our response and orchestration. We're built in hundreds and thousands of auto playbook and best practices for many scenarios, from phishing that we mentioned, and malwares and ransoms and zero-day attacks and many, many more, and executables. Cynet already has auto playbooks and auto remediation built in. You don't need any manual integration over here. You can go with our built-in scenarios and playbooks, and Cynet has those playbooks to auto remediate, detect, and alert you on that threat, leaving you resting assured that this attempt or security threat will be covered by us as well. After that being said, There are many capabilities, and Elon will show some of them because we cannot cover everything now, that we can do manually by Sentia, by us, or by you from the system, and we'll cover that as part of the demo as well. So on the next slide, you will see, to summarize everything, is basically what Cynet is providing in all our features and capabilities. So this advanced 360 platform enables you on the monitoring and control, full vulnerability assessment, log collection and retention, inventory management, and a FIM, file integrity monitoring. That is highly important for us to correlate and understand exactly what is this activity or this threat that the network is now addressing. On the prevention and detection, you'll have our next-gen AV. As you can see, and we already mentioned that in a couple of slides before, can detect some of them, but on the latest COVID reality, those engines had a lower detection rate, but much better detection rate we saw on our network analytics, our EDR, endpoint detection and response, our UBA, user behavior analysis. And in addition to that, one of the uniqueness Cynet is bringing is our deception. In deception, what we're doing is adding decoy files, decoy host, and decoy users, and using honeypot methodology. This is highly valuable for us, not only a better protection rate and enabling us to monitor that, to alert, and to learn more about attackers. And even in some cases, we can even reach those attackers and understand. And by doing so on a decoy file, there's no harm being done to the network due to the fact that it's not a real live production. It's an environment of a decoy recreated. Highly valuable, especially in these days. And as mentioned on response and orchestration, you can go autopilot with our built-in playbooks. You can customize and remediate, and we in Sentia will be more than happy to create any tailor-made in the system, which is clickable. It's a minute or two to create a playbook for you according to what scenarios that fits your organization, and you can go semi-pilot or tailor-made with us. And everything is covered with Cynet's security services, which, as you can see on the next slide, is our MDR. And we mentioned that already on the presentation. A lot of employees today and CISO security teams are having challenges in this new reality as well. Cynet SIOPS is a full MDR active that will assist you in any threat or any remediation. It's a proactive services. So we are the eyes on the glass 24/7 for all your resource, all your network, and we can look at them and monitor. We will alert you on any threats that we saw or any alert from the system of suspicious behavior as well. We will help you proactively remediate that and work with you until full coverage of each event. In addition to that, we can create an incident response for any alert, scanning your network and seeing that everything is already done, and we're at good stages to continue and work safely after that event. After that being said, I would be more than happy to forward you to Elon to the demo that he will cover exactly an understanding about how Cynet operates on that. Elon, over to you.
Here you go. All right.
Did that
Can you
work?
see my screen? Yeah. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes. Yeah, looks like
All
it.
right.
Yeah, now we can see
Yes, we're good. We're
Thank
in.
you.
Great. Sorry about that.
Awesome. So hi, everybody. I'm Elon. I'm the sales engineer for North America, working with lovely OE. And I'll show you right now, with the time I have left, some of the capabilities and some of the visibility that we provide from our agent through our platform. So looking at the main dashboard and looking at this spinning radar, you can see basically the 4 different pillars that we cover and we offer as part of our threat coverage. It's the files, users, host, network, and on the left-hand side, you can see the number of total open alerts that we have. Now, within minutes after deployment, when you push the agents, you'll be able to see the map of the organization. Immediately, you'll see the agents. There's no reboot required on this end, and you'll understand exactly where do you have deployment on, and especially these times when you have people remote working from home, this is a great tool and control to see all your assets around the globe. Now, in this sense, looking at a specific host, you can see all the details and data that we collect. You can see over here the risk score, which is a rating that we give every entity, every file, every user, every host, that gives you an estimation of what's going on over there as far as what we collect and what we see. You can see the details on a host. You can see the open alerts, collected files, users, all the way through traffic, domains, sockets, IP, NICs, DNS cache, installed softwares, missing OS updates. And you can navigate your way and create your own rules looking at these things. Now, if I go back to the forensics page, you can make a lot of correlations and see across the organizations, which really is the powerful part of what we can offer. So imagine that you need to look for a threat, or you have some incident that occurred, and now you need to understand what's the impact on how many machines have we seen this behavior. Are there more correlation engines that points around this file and suggest this is something malicious? So this is all things that you can do from this page. But as part of the plug and play solution, what Cynet really offers, it goes from the most easy part of deploying and managing, the just put the keys in a car and just let it go, as far as deploy and set the auto remediation on and just let it run and keep monitoring for alerts. And it could be really utilized for many other directions, into implementing playbooks, auto remediations on top of what we have to offer. So for example, you can see the first alert over here. You can see the context of the host, the user, and the file that in this case was a WinWord. And it was an exploitation attempt via the word document. And in this case, you can see exactly what happened over there. You can see the command line of the PowerShell that was running from within this document. And on the right side, you can see that the remediation was activated and was on automatically. Now in this end, you can see a whole chain of events over here. So the first thing that happened, as we've seen recently, especially during this time, a lot of exploitation attempts via the Outlook and spear phishing attachment and some phishing links and stuff like that. The next thing that happens is a privilege escalation on the machine, and then reconnaissance via port scanning. The next thing that happens is a lateral movement via pass the hash that was done with PowerShell. And in this case, you can see that the auto remediation that took place is disabling the user to prevent it from logging in and passing it hash to a different machine. Looking forward, we can see the decoy files that were stolen. And in this case, you'll be able to see the attacker IP where they open the documents that they exfiltrate. And in the last stage, you can see a data exfiltration via DNS tunneling. Now on this end, you can see that all remediations were on in different sections: on a network, on a user, on a host, isolating the machine. But really what I want to show over here is the remediation capabilities and covering all the aspects from the file, user, host, and network, also the playbooks. So you can see that you have many, many options on top of what we have automatically set up for you. You can delete, quarantine a file, and add, do a memory dump of the process. You can enable or disable the user. On a host level, there are multiple options like isolate the machine or run a command or do many, many other things. On a network level, you can block the traffic through the local firewall on the machine. So it gives you also the protection, being able to mitigate some access to malicious domains or IPs that you detect. And the last thing, you can see that you have playbooks. And this is a really handy thing when it comes to breaches or incidents. When you have, maybe you have something that is a best practice, and if you don't, that's fine, because this is something that we do during the onboarding processes with our SOC team. And we have many playbooks that we can suggest and implement for you. Now, all these things involve manual work, and this is not what we're here to do. As you can see, the auto remediation in these cases was on, and you can set more actions on top of what you see over here. So for example, you can set auto remediation on a specific file, on a specific user, or on a specific domain that you accessed, and then just pick up the remediation type that you want to have is it on each of the domains. Last thing that I want to mention on this page, you can see the send to SOC, and this is part of the services that we mentioned before. While investigating, you're not alone in these cases. And while you have some file or something that was executing on your organization or in some environment, and you want to realize or investigate what's going on, or what does it do, or what else should you search, or what are the next steps really. So in this case, the SOC team really comes handy when you can send a file by one click to the SOC, and they'll investigate this file and come back with some insights. And if needed, they help with incident response as well. All right, Sarah?
Okay, great. Thank you, Elon. Thank you for that demonstration. I'm just going to take back the presenter rights here. Please bear with me. Okay, so Roy, I'm going to pass it over to you momentarily before we move to the call to action. If you can just explain this slide, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Elon, so much. Thank you, Sarah. So as Elon mentions on the demos, this is only a partial of Cynet's capabilities. Since we're on a webinar, we just got we're interested in giving you a glimpse of an understanding, and feel free to reach out if you need more information or you want to see a full demo and exactly how engines are working. We didn't want to cover everything, unfortunately, due to the time. One of the dedicated offerings that we're adding here with Sentia is for you and your client, the complete defense against phishing and email through us. But not only that, when we understand today that the new reality has its issue, every client that will join us with Cynet will get a free protection for his employees' private devices. So he will not need any charges for our personal devices, PCs, laptops up to his employees, only for his network, and all of them will be free covered by us. Therefore, he can give a full protection to those unmanaged, uncorporate devices and personal devices that will enter his network, due to the fact that he'll have an advanced protection solution as Cynet owns those devices, since we're today working remotely. Not only that, our MDR services will be free and covered in full protection with the PsyOps team for any event, any correlation, any remediation needed. All of that will be included free for all Sentia's clients as well. Chris?
Yeah, so Sarah, I think we could probably move on to the call to action, if that would be appropriate.
Yep, I'm just trying to do just that. Please bear with me. There we go. Thank you.
Perfect. So thanks to Roy and Elon, both a good demo and a good introduction, although I think that certainly there's an opportunity to learn a lot more for clients and customers who are interested. So what I would ask everybody to do is just really to consider your current security posture. You know, where are you in the grand scheme of protecting your business and your data, and seeing if you can identify any gaps or any concerns that you might have, where taking a deeper look at Cynet and understanding its capabilities would be of interest. And if you'd like, we can arrange to set up a discussion between us and Cynet and yourselves. And if you would be interested, I'd ask you to reach back out to Sarah in order to coordinate the discussion, and we can go from there. And if by chance your security is not your present concern or your only concern, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we're very broad, we're very deep across a variety of subject matter areas. And if you'd like to have a further broader discussion, I would encourage you as well to reach out through Sarah, and we could absolutely have a different discussion. So I wanted to thank everybody for joining us today, and thank you to the Cynet team. You did a great job and a great introduction to the platform. And back to you, Sarah.
Great, thank you, Chris. So thanks everyone for joining today. We certainly hope that you found the information very insightful and useful. We just wanted to quickly mention another session coming up just in a couple of days on April 2nd. It's another networking session being hosted through the Richmond Hill Board of Trade, but it is open to everyone. You do not need to be a member of the Board of Trade to join, and it'll just cover some other topics as it relates to enhancing your experience working from home, such as what type of tools and resources to use to enhance your productivity, enhance network security, and how to keep employees motivated and engaged. So Sentia will have presence during this session on April 2nd, and I encourage you to join if your time permits, and I will be sending registration details after today's session as well. So that concludes today's session. We do actually have one question that came through, which I'd like to open up, and if there's any other questions as well, now is the time to ask, and please feel free to just type them into the chat window. So Roy and Elon, I have a question here. What operating systems can the platform support?
That is a great question. We have a single agent that supports from XP and above Service Pack 2, Windows 2003 Service Pack 2, all 6 flavors of Linux and Unix, and of course macOS environment as well. And all is the same agent. There's not a different agent on that, which is easily deployed. Those are the main operational systems that we support.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. If there's no other questions, I think we will wrap it up today. We do have everybody's contact info here. So feel free to reach out if you do have any questions or any comments, and we'll close it off. And thank you again for joining us. And we hope that you all stay very safe during this time, and a recorded version of the session will be sent afterwards. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.